Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs Alex, Gore, and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex, Gore, and Lance Cayko.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Firm. I am your host, Chaotic Al Gore. I'm here with Lance just luxury himself, Cayko. Before we get into it, I want to tell you about something that is luxury, and that is learning Revit the right way through RevitRocketship.com. Nothing more will help your productivity than being focused on a system that is made to mimic construction, that you are in a template that has everything you need in there, and that you are confident in the way that you're modeling. Go check out RevitRocketship.com, where you learn Revit training and skills to rocket ship your Revit skills.
Gosh, I was just trying to find. Perfect. Yeah, so you should get on the rocket. You know why? Because I see complaints like this all the time. Not going to name names, but I will just read it. Why is Revit so complicated? I use Chief Architect and it's 1,000 times easier and way faster. I just downloaded the Revit trial and I want to give up after 15 minutes. Nothing makes sense. Blah, 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 blah. And then I just commented, It's easy if you get on the rocket ship. Boom.
Yeah.
So get on the rocket ship. What are you waiting for?
Also, Revit is complicated and
but we simplify it.
But we simplify it for sure.
We're taking to Mars, theoretically speaking.
There's a complicated program that I didn't get within 15 minutes. I quit. What?
Wow.
What?
Talk about TikTok generation.
What?
Yeah. You know what else you got to check out? You need to check out ARCAT. With project conditions changing in limited time to get things done, it's good to have information at your fingertips. ARCAT.com provides architects, engineers, spec writers, and contractors with the most comprehensive libraries of building product content and design so you can access it quickly and efficiently. Even better, ARCAT.com is free to use and requires no registration. So visit today and access the information you need now. That's ARCAT.com. Check them out. You should also check out Pella Luxury. Why? Because they support us and we support you with the knowledge from this podcast. So go to PellaLuxury.com/the firm today. Make sure you go to PellaLuxury.com/the firm so they can track the link. They can keep sponsoring us. We can keep bringing you that content every week. You need to check them out because you have never experienced a brand like this before. I'm telling you. The collection of brands within the luxury division of Pella are the conversation starters, the pioneers of industry who provide window and door solutions to discerning architects, the building industry, and beyond. They have decades of experience creating things no one else in the world is creating, and the collection of brands are brought together to complement and build on one another. They don't push beyond the limits. They set them. Explore PellaLuxury.com/the firm. That's PellaLuxury.com/the firm. Today, back to you, Mr. Chaos.
All right.
And you're going to throw it right back to me.
So, Lance, you served as an expert witness for an actual trial. When we were talking, this literally happened yesterday. I thought it was just mediation, but it went all...
Oh, you didn't know that.
Arbitration.
Close to the same, but different, but yes.
So then when we were talking and you mentioned a jury, this was a full jury trial.
Yeah.
What happened?
And just there was a lot of things that I learned, namely like full jury, that word, what does that mean? It was a civil case. That means it's only 6 jurors typically. If it's a full state prosecuted case, it's 12 jurors. I don't know, just all kinds of little differences. But what I wanted to first start out with is if anybody is interested if you're listening to the show, one of the things we always preach is making sure that you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You have a lot of people that rely on you if you are a business owner, even with one employee. It is your moral obligation to make sure that people stay employed and are paid what they're worth, and you're not laying people off, because you will break people's hearts. And you know what else you'll do if you lay people off? You will create little Lances, and they will go after all the work that you failed to get, and then they will create F9 Productions, and then they will crush That's
Yep.
what will happen. And so you don't want competition is what I'm getting at.
Well, that, but then also like you just destroyed your internal knowledge base that you've built up for a long time.
Goodness, what a good point.
Yeah, that's devastating.
That is devastating. Exactly. And then you got to start over. So if you're interested in getting another egg in your basket, another leg of your stool to stand on with your business, think about doing expert witness work as an architect or a contractor or an engineer. I've been trying to get into this line of work for a couple of years now, and finally had one come through that was a pretty big case, and it paid very well and all of that. So what you can do is you go to, I'm not getting paid by these guys either, just so you know, Expert IQ. It's experts.expertiq.com. So it's experts.expert-iq.com. And that's where I signed up, and I put my resume up there, and then I was found by an attorney for a local case down here in Colorado to provide expert architectural witness services for them. So this segment, and literally the podcast episode is called Lance Goes to Court, because that's where I was. So I want to give everybody, I'm not going to name names, we're not going to give exact figures and everything like that, but I will tell you about the case. So just because I think this is part of it, right? So the first part, you got to get signed up, and maybe you even just have an attorney connection that does a bunch of like construction related projects or something like that, and they're already looking for one anyway. But if you're looking to do it the way I did, you sign up for this Expert IQ thing. It's actually free. For me, it's the attorneys and the clients end up paying.
Yeah,
I have a finder's fee they pay.
A business related question.
Yeah.
Can you, spoiler alert, you did a decent job. Did a good job.
Did a good job.
So could you get a reference from that lawyer?
Yeah.
And then like, if you wanted to get more, let's say locally, like send it out just saying, hey, just let you know I'm in the area. Here's a reference from the lawyer from the case that I just had. Just literally like 100%. Basic level marketing.
Basic level. You could do basic level. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. It's not a bad idea at all. Cost you, it'll cost you your time, and maybe it'll return. Okay, so here was the case. So basically, here's the other thing too. You got to ask yourself if you're looking at these cases and they come through, and and all that is like, is this an ethical one for me to take?
For sure, 100%.
Right.
Don't be a part of the cog in the system just to get money. F that.
Yeah, like money isn't everything. Not having it is. Kanye West, all that. But like at the same time, you need to be able to sleep well at night. There's something to putting yourself out there and doing work that you're passionate about, that you feel obligated to do, and all of those things.
All that is 100% true. Know what I'm also worried about? Have you ever heard about some people being a terrible person or a terrible lawyer or a terrible business person?
Yeah.
And then like, oh, they get cancer at 53 and die. Like, I'm like, I don't want cancer. 53 and die because I've been doing some terrible shit. And it's been like myself and you probably already stuff enough stress into our bodies anyways.
100%.
I don't think you need that subconsciously.
Are you talking about Kevin Samuels?
No, but who is Kevin?
Oh my God, Kevin Samuels was 53 and he just died. That's why I thought you were talking about him. He is not appropriate for the show. Oh, it's 57. He is not appropriate for the show.
Did he do bad stuff?
He is an image consultant. I will show you some clips of him after the show, and we'll see what you think.
Okay.
If you're wondering who it is, go to Kevin Samuel. I'm a big fan of Your Mom's House podcast. And,
who is it?
And they are savages on that show, and they like savages. And so if you're wondering who Kevin Samuels is, go to YouTube while you're listening to this. Maybe pause it and go and type in Kevin Samuels Most Savage Takedowns, and you'll see. And it is entertaining. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just saying it is entertaining. Yeah. Okay, back to the case. So I looked at the case, and when I read through the case synopsis and everything, you do that part for free. It's just like any kind of business. You got to do some work ahead of time, right? Mm-hmm. Put together a proposal. I read through it and I thought, this is a case I feel my moral compass aligns with it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. It wasn't open and shut as far as like, the guy trying to sue the guy that I'm going to defend is a slam dunk case.
Right.
That sort of thing. So what the case amounted to was, basically, this handyman he signed 4 different contracts, and we're just going to throw out the number. We're going to say, let's say the contracts were for $10,000 each, and totaling $40,000. And it took him, and he basically did the demolition, and then he did like 2 construction parts for it. And one of my conclusions of my report was like, yeah, the guy got paid about $20K. Again, these figures are all made up. It's fictitious in this sense. So, don't sue me. But then my conclusion was, the guy got paid $20K. It seems like he did about $20K worth of work. You guys should just walk away from each other. Like, get a life. Get a life so you don't kill yourself at 57.
Yep.
With a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. But my counter report wasn't enough. They didn't settle out of court, and then they decided. And by the way, so my counter report was why I'm saying counter report. It was a counter report to what happens is, something gets filed in court where they say, somebody like a disgruntled homeowner or somebody that has hired you, if you're a builder or a handyman, they get disgruntled, and then they hire an attorney. You guys are done working together. It gets filed in court that they're suing you.
And was one of the other reasons why you were morally okay to do it was because the homeowner was disgruntled because the contractor couldn't finish the work.
Yeah. And he couldn't finish the work because when he was completing one of the few construction tasks that he actually fully completed, he got a blood clot in his leg, and it was life-threatening. And so his doctor literally told him, you cannot work anymore. No bueno.
Yeah.
Or you'll die, because you could die.
Yeah.
So,
at 57.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why I felt like, oh, come on. Like it would be way different if, here's the opposite scenario. The opposite scenario is I look at the case, and the whole thing is, the guy had 4 contracts for $10K each, $40,000. He got paid in full. He completed half the work.
And he walked away.
And he walked away with for no reason at all, just to do it.
Yep.
Oh, that's a classic. This crappy
contractor.
Yeah. But that was not it. So basically, it ended up going to trial, and so I completed. So to kind of back up again. Sorry. It gets filed in court. There's going to be, what happens is, like, the accusing party will file they will hire expert witnesses on their behalf, right? Which are architects, engineers, construction people, and they will examine all the things that this, you, the person who is trying to sue the other person, and say like, he absolutely is right that this was installed correctly or done incorrectly, and therefore it caused this much damage, and blah 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 blah. We also, both of us, me and the other expert, were referring to like a house inspection. So like this, was a house, and they had it inspected before they bought it, and then before like all the remodel work occurred. So we both gave our reports. Mine ended up being 53 pages long. It is a lot of work, and you get paid by the hour. Set your hourly rate. I think you should match something like an attorney. You should be between like $200 and $400 an hour. So it is very lucrative work. And then it goes to court, and then you get a full-on subpoena. So I got subpoenaed to court, and then signed the subpoena, and then I appeared yesterday, and then you get put up on stand. So if you're the expert witness, if they're presenting you as the expert witness, and like the attorney you're working with the defendant, then you get called up on stand first. I went up there for about a half hour, and then we took a lunch, and then I got called up for another 15 minutes, and we've kind of finished up the Q&A back and forth with me and the other attorney. And then the prosecution, it's not prosecution in this case, but like the plaintiff, the person who's trying to sue the guy I was defending, his attorney called me up, and then we went back and forth, and he got to ask all of his questions. My tips for people who are doing this for the first time is only believe half of what you see on TV, because it's not as cut and dry as you would think. Example, if some of the questions, I think one of the things that was like, okay, this was not real for me once I got there on stand, was like, oh, they don't just cut you off if you don't answer directly. You actually do get to keep talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like as hard and fast as
contentious.
it's not as it's not
Right.
It's not exactly. So know that like you're supposed to you want to answer questions as succinctly as possible, and you obviously have to tell the truth because you get sworn in for that. You know, like that one is part of real as far as TV goes. But you know where you see on TV where they're like, you know, the other lawyer turns up, objection, he's not answering the question. Like, it's not as crazy as you think.
Is the oath?
The drama is much less.
Yeah. Is the oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So,
Is that
so help me God.
really all? That's real.
That's real.
All right.
Yep. So know that. I think the other thing you need to have, there's two mindsets. The three mindsets I think you need to be within. The first one is if you're doing this for the first time is like you while you owe your services to the person who's hiring you, you don't take anything personally. Like they're going to personally attack you. They're going to absolutely 100% personally attack you. They're going to try to degrade you as a professional. You know, like, oh, you went to they didn't say this, but like, oh, you went to North Dakota State University? Well, my expert witness went to Harvard. You know, like, okay, all right, you know, whatever. What you do is, and I was telling Alex this like the day before when we were talking about me doing this, is I said I'm gonna do what the politicians do, and I know that sounds terrible, but like what they do well is if they get asked a tough question, then they just smile and nod, and they turn it into like they still turn red, and you can tell that they're like that flustered them or whatever, but like they don't go back and start digging their heels in and go on the defensive, you know, and start like getting tangled in that. You just you keep a positive haha attitude, like, oh, that was entertaining, that was a good question, sir.
Yeah. And what is also cool about that suggestion is it ties to a concept that Jocko always talks about, and it's detached and have perspective. So it's a physical thing that you're doing to yourself to say, okay, they just hit me. Detach. And when you detach, like, you know, like, okay, don't emotionally react or, you know, get hot-headed or whatever, and then come back to the question. So, like, I like the tip because it's giving a physical rather than just remember not to do that. Well, it's hard just to remember, but if you say, hey, if they ever do this, this action's going to happen, it's a nice cue.
Yep. The other one is assert your dominance. I'm so serious about this. You need to do what Jordan Peterson says, and you need to stand up straight with your shoulders back and be the top lobster in the room. That doesn't... what do you mean? Oh, yeah, the pinchers. Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, he just did the pinchers.
Yep.
Mr. Al Gore. We're going to have to make a GIF out of that. So here's the example. Here's the literally specific example. So I got there at about 8:20. I didn't get called up to the stand for about 3 hours later until 11:30. At 10 a.m., we had a recess, and up until I got called, what I was watching the person I was defending, they were up on stand, and they were getting grilled by the attorney opposing them. And I got to watch all of the attorney who was opposing us, his mannerisms, how he acted, how he answered questions, his line of thought. Just kind of, and then prep myself mentally for that. Like, oh, I can see a pattern here. Mm-hmm. For instance, this guy had a pattern of, he would get you to do, and this is what all attorneys do when you're up on the stand or whatever, you're giving a deposition, is they're trying to give you
lead you.
Yes, I'll do it to Al.
Yep.
Right now. Okay. Al, would you agree that your shirt is a green shirt?
Yes.
Would you agree that the shirt underneath your green shirt is a black shirt?
Yes.
And would you absolutely agree that you look like an idiot wearing mismatching shirts?
No, I would not, sir. Because so now I'm gonna break. It's so hilarious. Because today when I was putting this on, I was wearing a black shirt, and I was like, oh, it's going to be cold. I'll just wear this in the beginning of the day, even though it doesn't match whatsoever. So the correct answer here is yes, it does not match whatever. That's why I'm
okay. What you're doing is, go ahead.
Yep. But for practicality, me being comfortable makes for a better working Al than a mismatched shirt.
So Anyway, so that's literally it.
Because he just wants you to say yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, you don't know how to dress. How can you even design a building if you don't even know how to dress yourself?
Exactly. So
would you agree you have no taste whatsoever so that...
And sir, would you agree that your wife needs to divorce you tonight?
If you have no taste and you cannot decide, you cannot provide for your family, your wife should divorce you and your kids should leave you.
100%. What are you doing?
If you let them railroad you like that.
Yeah. So you just got to be prepared for it. And I'll get to why that's so important, I think, and what it does to how it can literally, I think what it did for me was it literally put me on the offense in the best way possible. What were we going to say? I feel like you're going to say something.
I was going to mention, but it might come along later, like a question like, hey, you are this job, they are this job, aren't they better than you? Like that would have set me off, but you were kind of cool about it.
Exactly. So, okay. So then, so basically I get up on, I'm getting questioned by this other, the other piece of mindset is, I was saying is, being the top lobster in the room or whatever, we went to go to recess at 10 a.m. And I've been sitting in the back for a couple hours as you're listening here, and then the attorney who was opposing us comes right up to me and says, "Are you their expert witness?" And the judge was talking while this was all happening. I've never been in court before, so I didn't know how this works, and I was just trying to be a super respectful person. So I don't even look at the guy. I just turn and point at the judge, and I look up at the judge and I say, "I think we're not supposed to be talking right now." And then the guy turned around. And again, shoulders back, chest out, standing tall. And like, you got to assert your dominance. Like, you're already not going to answer this guy in the way he wants you to answer it. You are going to answer it in the way you want to answer it and the way you should answer it. Dominance. I'm telling you, you got to do it. Here's what, because then it translated later on. So I'm up there on the stand, and again, referring back to these numbers. So this guy tried to lead me. He tried to get me to agree. For instance, he was like, well, wouldn't you agree that in the living room, if you're a general contractor, he goes, wouldn't you agree that in the living room, if you were doing this job, it would have only taken you 2 or 3 days to demolish before you started the reconstruction of the living room, which amounts to about a third of the work. Would you agree with that? Yes. Wouldn't you also agree that in the second living room, it's the same scenario? It would maybe take about a third of the time. Yes. So wouldn't you agree that if the contracts totaled $40,000, that all my client should have paid out was about $5,000? To which I said, and the numbers are real, to which I said, well, sir, I would not agree with that, because the last time I checked math, the math on 25% of $40,000 is $10,000. So I literally checked his math.
Yep.
In that scenario. The math is obviously different. I'm not telling you the real numbers, but like, I checked his math in that scenario, and he was not expecting, I don't think, quantitative reasoning. Like, when you go to architecture college, right, you're supposed to take trigonometry, and then you're supposed to take some other advanced level mathematics course. And the reason
start with a D. Sorry,
we both took the ones for idiots, because you and I are not like we just didn't take calculus.
Yeah,
that was it. You could take calculus and sub it. But remember, the whole point of you, like one of the whole points of going to architecture school and like testing you is like you need to be able to quantitatively reason, right? Like you're doing algebra in your head because you're juggling so many different balls with variables. That's the whole thing that your brain is supposed to be working at a higher level than somebody who's not an architect.
Right. Design, client wishes, code, city wishes, engineering. You got to be able to put those all in your head and juggle them.
Yeah. So that threw him off, and you could see he was getting frustrated because I was being a roadblock in his. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Wouldn't you agree? No. And then a long like explanation about why I would not agree with that, and using quantitative reasoning. Right. For instance, here's another good example. Here's a perfect example of how I was the roadblock. One of the things was like, wouldn't you agree that then because the problem was not solved by removing this item and installing this other item, that it was completely unnecessary to remove that item in the first place and install a new one. To which I said, no, I would not agree with that. Even though it might have, you might determine, I would put it back on him, even though it might determine that you might determine that it was unnecessary, that it was found to be unnecessary to remove that item and then install the new one, that doesn't mean that it wasn't necessary in the first place in trying to solve the overall problem by tackling that potential issue and seeing that it isn't a problem. That way you can narrow it down to the other two things, tackle the next one, and then maybe get to the third one.
So for example, it is
hated that.
Yep, it is literally like this. So I'm fixing my kid's monster truck. So I am replacing the fuses, and then they're breaking when I do certain things. Okay, the fuse is not the problem. Now I need to check the wire. Should I sue myself for the fuses that I blew that weren't the issue?
Yeah.
No, you just got to go down the logic train to keep moving.
Yep. So that was one of my last answers to him that completely threw him off and pissed him off. And then he spent the next 60 seconds after that just flipping through. He was at his own little stand there where they ask you the questions, just flipping through like my 53-page report, like pretending to scribble. And then he goes, no more questions. And then he went and sat down. And then the attorney that I was working with was like you could tell he was like, his energy was happy. And he was like, oh my God, I think Lance nailed it.
Yeah.
Then he said, no more questions. Here's the surprise, okay? I didn't know this. Al didn't know this. Nobody up in the firm knew this. My wife did not know this. The judge turns to the jury and goes, do you have any questions for the expert witness?
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Exactly. Ominous music. And at first, nobody said anything. And then eventually one guy, at the very last minute, yeah, I have one question. The judge goes, great. Please write it down. I had no idea that the jury could ask questions. Again, nobody knew.
And I'll make up the question since it's not going to be related to
you
yours.
can do it.
Sir.
But can I talk about the process?
Yes.
Okay, you're remembering the question. Here's how it works. I got to tell you guys. So he writes down the question, and then the court clerk then goes and gets it from the jury, hands it to the judge. The judge reads it to himself. Then he turns on like this little noise machine, like the ones where you're trying to sleep. Then both attorneys go up there. It's like a little confidential discussion. I could hear it because I was up on the stand. And basically they both read it and they go, I don't object. Go ahead. And then the judge shuts off the machine. Everybody goes, sits down. He reads me the question, which is?
And the judge reads it to
me,
the expert. Mr. Cayko, is it true? Is it true that if you have a four-year-old monster truck, should you, by default, if it's not working, replace the fuse?
Yes. So it was a question like that, but it was literally a question like that. You know, make your own decisions about what they really asked. But it was devastating to who we were up against. You could tell their body language, they just sank in their chairs because it was literally the jury asking like a yes or no like question about this last amount of money. Yeah, that I was contending that like, oh no, he did the work. Like it's
obvious to replace this part given this length of time.
Yes, you could feel the nail in the coffin happening. So that's kind of the summation of how to provide expert witness services as an architect or design or kind of professional in this field. I think it's a worthy endeavor. I think you should do it. I think it's another leg you can stand on. However, the other piece of advice I want to give out there is like, was it a slam dunk? Like, did we win? We mostly won, basically. The person I was defending is going to have to pay a little bit of stuff, but not even close to what the other person was accusing them of. So they mostly won. They could have won more if they weren't such a sloppy business owner. And that is, you know, here's just some general re-tips for everybody is do not take cash as payment. Because that is going to be an issue. Because you know what you're going to probably do with cash? You're probably going to not want to pay taxes because I don't care where you're at in the political spectrum. You don't want to pay taxes. You want somebody else to pay taxes, right? So, like, it's true.
You don't want to pay for your own education. You want someone else to pay for your education.
So don't take cash. Keep good reports, keep good bookkeeping, and don't write bad contracts. You need to be very explicit about what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and then don't take forever to do work. Like, you need to be professional, on time, and get it done, and all of that. And again, try to document as much as you can. Like, if you can avoid phone calls, and let's say the person is like, I'm not into emails, and they're like, I'm only into phone calls, and you're like, what about texting? Are you into texting? How about, can we just meet in the middle and do texting? Save the text.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I would even argue, if they're like, no, say no one's memories are 100%. This just means that we can more easily come to decisions and conclusions if we do it this way.
Yeah. And you know what? That was actually, I think that'll kind of be most of the episode. I say we move right into A.R.E. Jeopardy, Al.
Let's do it. Sounds great. We'll bring down the crew. Okay, question 1. What is a common rule for building in the floodplain? Is it A, you cannot build in the floodplain? B, use caissons instead of traditional foundations? C, build first, ask questions later? Or D, the finished floor must be 1 foot above the base flood elevation? Is that all we're... Okay, B. Did you say B? D? It is D. The finished floor must be 1 foot above base flood elevation. Okay, question number 2. What is a common rule for building in the floodway? Not plain, way. Is it A, you cannot build in the floodway? Is it B, use caissons instead of traditional foundations? Is it C, build first and ask later? Or is it D, the finished floor must be 1 foot above the base flood elevation? Okay, B, A. It is A. You cannot build in the floodway. That's the major difference. That's the point of the question. You can build in the floodplain.
Yeah.
Do not build in the floodway.
Yeah.
You would be in the way of the flood.
Ooh, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. You're in the way.
Can't be in the way of the flood. I like that.
What's
Number 3, what is the minimum framing penetration depth for fasteners into hardboard panels and or lap siding? A, 1.25 inches. C, 1.5 inches. Or sorry, A, 1.25 inches. B, 1.5 inches. C, 1.75 inches. D, 2 inches. What is the minimum framing penetration depth for fasteners into hardboard panels and or lap siding? A, 1.25 inches. B, 1.5 inches. C, 1.75 inches. D, 2 inches. This will be on the test. She's got D. He's got B. B. The correct answer is B.
1.5.
Way to be, coach.
Would you say why this is relevant is because if you're putting in insulation, you have to go 1.5.
Now you see, if you're in the 2021 codes.
Exterior insulation, if you have 1.5 inch and you have to go 1.5 inch, now you're 3 inches plus the depth of whatever you have. Now you're going from a 3-inch nail or screw to a 4.
Yeah. This seems like it'll make housing more affordable.
Oh, dude. Nail guns don't even, you can't even,
Yeah. It's gonna be
it doesn't
expensive.
even have a 4-inch option.
Yeah.
All nail guns are obsolete. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Housing prices go where?
Yep. Number 4. What is the minimum overlapping for rebar in a wall? Is it A, 20 times the diameter, B, 30 times the diameter, C, 40 times the diameter, or D, 50 times the diameter? Reeves, you look like you need that repeated.
Is your mind blown that all nail guns just became obsolete?
Are you just sitting there like...
Right? Because I didn't even mention you have your sheathing. So now you're at like 4 or 4.25 to 4. Yeah. Isn't that blowing your mind?
I just hate the rules. Okay, we have C, B, C. The correct answer is C, 40 times the diameter. Never forget it. What do we got? 2, 3. Jason? I think that's it.
Okay.
No
Where are we
longer.
going to eat? Pump House. That's it for me.
If
Lance?
you like this episode, please leave us a comment on the YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. If you're listening terrestrially, leave us a 5-star review, and we will see you next week.